Corporate identity. A corporate identity or corporate image is the manner in which a corporation, firm or business enterprise presents itself to the public, such as customers and investors as well as employees. The corporate identity is typically visualized by branding and with the use of trademarks, but it can also include things like product design, advertising, public relations, etc. Corporate identity is a primary goal of the corporate communications, in order to maintain and build the identity to accord with and facilitate the corporate business objectives. In general, this amounts to a corporate title, logo, logotype and/or logogram, and supporting device is commonly assembled within a set of corporate guidelines. These guidelines govern how the identity is applied and usually include approved color palettes, typefaces, page layouts, fonts, and others. Integrated Marketing Communications, IMC. Corporate identity is the set of multisensory elements that marketers employ to communicate a visual statement about the brand to consumers. These multisensory elements include but are not limited to company name, logo, slogan, buildings, decor, uniforms, company colors and in some cases, even the physical appearance of customer-facing employees. Corporate identity is either weak or strong. To understand this concept, it is beneficial to consider exactly what constitutes a strong corporate identity. Consonance, in the context of marketing, is a unified message offered to consumers from all fronts of the organization. Laurie and Mortimer, 2011 CTFM. In the context of corporate identity, consonance is the alignment of all touch points. For example, Apple has strong brand consonance because at every point at which the consumer interacts with the brand, a consistent message is conveyed. This is seen in Apple TV advertisements, the Apple Store design, the physical presentation of customer-facing Apple employees and the actual products, such as the iPhone, iPad and MacBook laptops. Every Apple touch point is communicating a unified message, from the advertising of the brand to the product packaging. The message sent to consumers is we are simple, sophisticated, fun and user-friendly. Brand consonance solidifies corporate identity and encourages brand acceptance, on the grounds that when a consumer is exposed to a consistent message multiple times across the entirety of a brand, the message is easier to trust and the existence of the brand is easier to accept. Strong brand consonance is imperative to achieving strong corporate identity. Strong consonance, and in turn, strong corporate identity can be achieved through the implementation and integration of integrated marketing communications, IMC. IMC is a collective of concepts and communications processes that seek to establish clarity and consistency in the positioning of a brand in the mind of consumers. As espoused by Holm, cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011, at its ultimate stage, IMC is implemented at a corporate level and consolidates all aspects of the organization. This initiates brand consonance which in turn inspires strong corporate identity. To appreciate this idea with heavier mental weight, it is important to regard the different levels of IMC integration. The communication-based model, advanced by Duncan and Moriarty, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011, contends that there are 3 levels of IMC integration. Duncan and Moriarty affirm that the lowest level of IMC integration is level 1, where IMC decisions are made by marketing communication level message sources. These sources include personal sales, advertising, sales promotion, direct marketing, public relations, packaging and events departments. The stakeholders concerned at this stage are consumers, local communities, media and interest groups. Duncan and Moriarty, 1998, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011. At the second stage of IMC integration, Duncan and Moriarty, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011, establish that level 1 integration departments still have decision-making power but are now guided by marketing-level message sources. At stage 2 integration, the message sources are those departments in which product mix, price mix, marketing communication and distribution mix are settled. Appropriately, stakeholders at this stage of integration are distributors, suppliers and competition. Duncan and Moriarty, 1998, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011. It is at this stage of integration that consumers interact with the organization. Duncan and Moriarty, 1998, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011. Moving forward, the last stage, Duncan and Moriarty's communication-based model, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011, is stage 3, where message sources are at the corporate level of the organization. These message sources include administration, manufacturing operations, marketing, finance, human resources and legal departments. The stakeholders at this level of IMC integration are employees, investors, financial community, government and regulators. Duncan and Moriarty, 1998, as cited in Laurie and Mortimer, 2011. At the final stages of IMC integration, IMC decisions are made not only by corporate level departments but also by departments classed in stages 1 and 2. It is the inclusion of all organizational departments by which a horizontal, non-linear method of communication with consumers is achieved. By unifying all fronts of the marketing firm, communications are synchronized to achieve consistency, consonance and ultimately strong corporate identity. Organizational point of view. In a recent monograph on Chinese corporate identity, Routledge, 2006, Peter Peverelli, proposes a new definition of corporate identity, based on the general organization theory proposed in his earlier work, in particular Peverelli, 2000. This definition regards identity as a result of social interaction. Best practices. The following 4 key brand requirements are critical for a successful corporate identity strategy. Visual identity. Corporate visual identity plays a significant role in the way an organization presents itself to both internal and external stakeholders. In general terms, a corporate visual identity expresses the values and ambitions of an organization, its business, and its characteristics. 4 functions of corporate visual identity can be distinguished. 3 of these are aimed at external stakeholders. The definition of the corporate visual identity management is: special attention is paid to corporate identity in times of organizational change. Once a new corporate identity is implemented, attention to corporate identity-related issues generally tends to decrease. However, corporate identity needs to be managed on a structural basis, to be internalized by the employees and to harmonize with future organizational developments. Efforts to manage the corporate visual identity will result in more consistency, and the corporate visual identity management mix should include structural, cultural and strategic aspects. Guidelines, procedures and tools can be summarized as the structural aspects of managing the corporate visual identity. However, as important as the structural aspects may be, they must be complemented by 2 other types of aspects. Among the cultural aspects of corporate visual identity management, socialization, i.e., formal and informal learning processes, turned out to influence the consistency of a corporate visual identity. Managers are important as a role model and they can clearly set an example. This implies that they need to be aware of the impact of their behavior, which has an effect on how employees behave. If managers pay attention to the way they convey the identity of their organization, including the use of a corporate visual identity, this will have a positive effect on the attention employees give to the corporate visual identity. Further, it seems to be important that the organization communicates the strategic aspects of the corporate visual identity. Employees need to have knowledge of the corporate visual identity of their organization, not only the general reasons for using the corporate visual identity, such as its role in enhancing the visibility and recognizability of the organization, but also aspects of the story behind the corporate visual identity. The story should explain why the design fits the organization and what the design, in all of its elements, is intended to express. Corporate colors. Corporate colors, or company colors, are one of the most instantly recognizable elements of a corporate visual identity and promote a strong non-verbal message on the company's behalf. Examples of corporate colors. Visual identity history. Nearly 7,000 years ago, Transylvanian potters inscribed their personal marks on the earthenware they created. If one potter made better pots than another, Naturally, his mark held more value than his competitors. Religions created some of the most recognized identity marks: the Christian cross, the Judaic Star of David, and the Islamic crescent moon. In addition, kings and nobles in medieval times had clothing, armor, flags, shields, tableware, entryways, and manuscript bindings that all bore coats of arms and royal seals. The symbols depicted a lord's lineage, aspirations, familial virtues, as well as memoirs to cavalry, infantry, and mercenaries of who they were fighting for on the battlefields. A trademark became a symbol of individuals' professional qualifications to perform a particular skill by the 15th century. For example, the rod of Asclepius on a physician's sign signified that the doctor was a well-trained practitioner of the medical arts. Simple graphics such as the caduceus carried so much socio-economic and political weight by the 16th century, that government offices were established throughout Europe to register and protect the growing collection of trademarks used by numerous craft guilds. The concept of visually trademarking one's business spread widely during the Industrial Revolution. The shift of business in favor of non-agricultural enterprise caused business, and corporate consciousness, to boom. Logo use became a mainstream part of identification, and over time, it held more power than being a simple identifier. Some logos held more value than others, and served more as assets than symbols. Logos are now the visual identifiers of corporations. They became components of corporate identities by communicating brands and unifying messages. The evolution of symbols went from a way for a king to seal a letter, to how businesses establish their credibility and sell everything from financial services to hamburgers. Therefore, although the specific terms corporate image and brand identity didn't enter business or design vocabulary until the 1940s, within 20 years they became key elements to business success. Media and corporate identity. As technology and mass media have continued to develop at exponential rates, the role of the media in business increases as well. The media has a large effect on the formation of corporate identity by reinforcing a company's image and reputation. Global television networks and the rise of business news have caused the public representation of organizations to critically influence the construction and deconstruction of certain organizational identities more than ever before. Many companies proactively choose to create media attention and use it as a tool for identity construction and strengthening, and also to reinvent their images under the pressure of new technology. The media also has the power to produce and diffuse meanings a corporation holds, therefore giving stakeholders a negotiation of the organizational identity.